Today I want to show you some shifting advice, some upshifting advice. I wish I knew when I started driving a manual. And once I understood how to utilize these things, it has helped me tremendously to smooth out my upshifts. So let's get straight into it. The first piece of advice that I want to give you is to realize, oh, let me put the windows up, so much wind. Is to realize that you have way more time to upshift than you think. Just know that in between the gears, power off. You have to realize that in between the gears, you actually have a lot of time to hold the clutch down and move the gear stick before the RPMs drop to where it wants to be in the next gear, in the higher gear. A lot of beginners, once they have learned how to upshift, they just start rushing their shifts, right? It's like the RPMs running away from them or something. But it's not. In most modern cars, in most modern manual cars, they've got rev hang and the RPMs are just designed to drop slower. Unless you're driving a performance sports car, something like a Miata, where there's literally no rev hang and the RPMs drop like crazy, you don't need to rush your upshifts. You have so much time in between the gears. And I know what a lot of you guys might say. You might say, well, when I'm shifting a manual, I want to reduce the time in between my shifts. Right, because when I'm accelerating and I'm in traffic, people are basically tailgating me. Right, I have experienced this as well. I find myself constantly looking in the rearview mirror when I'm accelerating because, let me turn here real quick. I found myself constantly checking the rearview mirror when I'm accelerating because I believe that people were constantly tailgating me when I'm accelerating, right? I felt like my shifting was too slow. And I was driving a manual, I was taking forever to get up to speed compared to these automatic drivers who just stomp on the gas pedal and they just shift gears instantly, right? The computer shifts gears instantly for them. What you have to realize is that's actually not what happens, right? Every time I look at the rearview mirror, I think someone is tailgating me constantly, right? It's like a belief that I just put up upon myself. But more recently, I've come to recognize that people actually don't tailgate me that much, right? Maybe once every 20 accelerations. Once every 20 accelerations from a stoplight, someone actually is tailgating me because they're just accelerating way too fast. But for the majority of the time, when you're getting going from a red light, from a stoplight, people just ain't gonna tailgate you, bro. Just take your time when you accelerate. Everything's chill. Not everybody is in such a rush that you have to just rush your gear shifts and not be smooth when you're driving, right? So you can be chill with it. Now, of course, in extreme cases, like you're trying to merge onto a highway where you have to really get up to speed, then yeah, sure, you can rush your gear shift a bit. You can allocate a shorter time in neutral. You can just release the clutch sooner, but just make sure to add more gas. I talked about this in another video where if you add more throttle, you'll actually smooth out your gear shifts even if the RPM is higher than where it's supposed to be, which is really cool. Beginners, just realize you have much more time than you think when you're upshifting and no one is really tailgating you. There is something I want you to do, is to pull up onto an empty road, somewhere safe where there's not really people around you. You're gonna want to engage first gear and you're gonna want to accelerate as if you're gonna upshift, and then you hold the clutch down, but you're actually not upshifting. You're just gonna hear out the RPMs to see how long it actually takes for the RPMs to drop. See? Look how long I have to hold the clutch down when I shifted then, first to second. You think you're doing it really fast, but when you're not really upshifting and you're just focusing on how long you have in between your shifts, you have a lot of time, bro. Especially when you're accelerating and you're revving out your car. The RPMs dropping slow, combined with the fact that your RPMs are higher up in the power band, so the RPM difference between the gears is also bigger. You just have a lot more time in between your shifts. So that was the first thing. The second thing that has helped me a lot is a reminder I like to tell myself every now and then, even to this day, is to actually put some effort into hearing out the RPMs. Like, listen to it. Listen to what it's doing and actually hear the RPMs drop before you release the clutch. Especially for beginners, when you guys are shifting, you put too much of your attention on trying to release the clutch slowly and smoothly, thinking that that's the thing you have to focus on. That's the only thing you have to focus on to get a smooth upshift. Now, if you put more of your attention on actually hearing out the RPMs and realizing that the RPMs has to drop for the next gear when you upshift, you'll actually be a lot smoother if you put more of your attention on truly hearing the RPMs drop. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to not look at the road and just focus on the RPMs, right? Hearing it drop. No. But once you start doing this, you will realize how little attention, how little focus it actually takes for you to hear out the RPMs and to realize when it's dropping and when it's the right time to release the clutch. You can time your shifts by hearing the RPMs better than you think, and you should definitely try it out. Once I found out about this little trick, it's like it flipped a switch in me. All of a sudden my upshifts were so smooth. I felt like I was one with the car, and it was just so easy to upshift once I started listening out the RPMs, hearing it drop, and timing the shift that way, compared to trying to be smooth with the clutch release like what most people would tell you to do when you're just starting out driving a manual. The third thing I want to talk about, and this is more of a tip, an actionable tip that you guys can do when you drive, is when you're upshifting and let's say for some reason the RPM has dropped below where you want it to be for the higher gear, right? For example, you're not so fast with your inputs. Let's say you don't move the gear stick fast enough to the next gear because you're new to driving, you don't really know how to operate the gear lever that well, and the RPM has now dropped below where it wants to be for the higher gear. How do you come back from this, right? How do you recover from this? I'm telling you, just rev the engine out, just blip it, and treat your gear shift like first gear. So we're gonna rev the engine way above where it wants to be for the higher gear. Well, obviously not redlining your engine, but just rev it to be above where you think the higher gear would be. We're not trying to be perfect here, because now that the RPM has dropped below where it wants to be for the higher gear, it's pretty hard for you to gauge the RPMs now, right? So now what we want to do is we want to rev the engine up and engage it as if we're engaging first gear. So you know how when you want to engage first gear, you will raise the RPM up and you slip the clutch out a bit, and then it allows you to have a smooth engagement, right? We're gonna do the exact same thing here when we're upshifting. Now that the RPM has dropped below where it wants to be, we're just gonna rev it up, and we're gonna release the clutch, and once you reach the bite point, we're just gonna add more throttle. I guarantee you this will smooth out your upshift. You can literally try it today when you drive a manual. So once again, just treat it like first gear. We're not trying to be perfect with our rev matching here. We're just gonna rev the engine up to make sure it's above where the correct RPM is, and we're just gonna slip the clutch and add more throttle for a little bit. It'll smooth out your upshift so much. It's like a little trick you learn once you start driving manual more, and you know, it works. I don't know how it works, why it works, but it works. It's really cool. You can try it out. And those are the few things that really helped me when I started upshifting early on in my manual driving journey. And I believe implementing these things will help you a ton. It will speed up your progress. And now I am arriving at my uni. Anyways, hope you found this video helpful, and as always, happy driving.